Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at Jesus. He obviously did get released last night. We had a nut stream, it was a lot of fun. I didn't manage to get a video out before he actually was released because I didn't have a full character information loaded on the test server, but it is here now, so we can go over how everything works, just so you have a better idea. Is he worth going for in the upcoming event? Is he maybe even worth putting money into the game to try and get early for War of Champions? We're going to go over him in a moment, but visually he looks sick. I did have someone on my live stream ask me, is he from the Telltale game, because he kind of looks like that, and I guess you could say he kind of is, but it's just because he's wearing the armor from the Kingdom. This is like Kingdom armor, I'm pretty sure. And it's just basically he's geared up. He's geared up. There's no horse in this situation, but he's geared up. I think he's got a skull mask around his neck. It's actually kind of cool. You can sort of see the outline of a skull. Kind of looks like the Punisher style skull. It actually looks kind of cool. Visually on the left hand side, Jesus, as we always know him, Jesus is Jesus. It is going to be an S-class version, of course. A lot of people have been waiting for this character. We did kind of expect him to be coming because of the Battle Pass pistol. And we're going to check out his full kit now. With 30 veteran rings, he has 2,580 attack, 4,780 defense, and 4,704 HP. It's worth noting that these stats are exactly the same as S-class Marge. So he can be made just as tanky as she can if you build the same sort of stat weapon for him. So that's just definitely worth noting. He is considered a support character, of course, and we know he is alert. So all round, Jesus, visually, stats, I'm quite impressed so far. But we'll move on to the rush, and it's called Spiritual Radiance. It is a 76 AP cost rush. Up to 2 enemies get minus 50% attack, daze, stun, and confuse for 2 turns. When I first saw this, I basically just said this is going to be, it's just 100% making sure you're controlling 2 characters, basically. You're most likely going to either stun or confuse them. They could potentially have focus on them, so the confuse might not work, and they could obviously have stun resist, so they could maybe do basic attacks, but they can't resist all of this stuff. They can't resist all of this stuff. They can obviously have this cleanse. There are characters that can remove debuffs, so for instance, the attack down can be removed, that sort of thing. But this is actually a quite nice first half of the rush. The second half, on the other hand, is crazy. While battling on the defense team, up to 2 teammates gain 100% AP. This obviously means that Jesus is kind of like a command in that sense. We did have a command in the 5-star era, I can't remember what his name is, where he had actually AP gain on his rush as well. So he could do commands and he could do commands for his rush and stuff like that. It was actually really good. On a defense team, this is going to be random. It's going to go to the 2 highest AP characters. So let's say you've got 2 people at like 70 AP out of 76. It's only going to give them 6 AP. But if all of your teammates were 0, it would randomly just give it to 2 teammates. And that's really good because potentially this rush could go off first and you could give a massive boost to 2 teammates and just make them rush really quickly, or 2 turns in a row potentially. Okay, so we have purposefully given Jesus his first turn rush. We just attacked him, and we'll see the AP most likely go to Shane, and it should randomly go to one of these 3 characters. They're all 76 AP characters, and it looks like they've all only got the 8%, whereas Shane got the 20% weapon boost from the weapon that Jesus has in his hands. I gave Jesus the 20% weapon just so that he wasn't going to stun me when I attacked him. But we are just going to attack Glenn here instead of neutralizing Jesus. And you'll see that 100% AP gain go off. It's going to go to Glenn, who's going to rush instantly. And it'll go to Shane, who's going to rush instantly. That's basically how it's going to work. But you can also see 2 of my characters got controlled. I'm not exactly sure who got controlled because I'm pretty sure Shane's rush does some control, right? 3 enemies get stunned for 2 turns, but it just was lots of added control. I think it was both Rick and Dr. Stevens who got controlled, but Dr. Stevens did manage to resist the stun twice by the looks of things, but he's still confused, still attacked down, and still of course dazed, which is obviously going to be good against characters that have stun resist, and they're going to still be confused. So quite a lot of power with this rush, but it's added power depending on the characters that you've got around Jesus. If you've got average characters, like for instance the characters there that got the 100% AP gain, it wasn't great. There was a lot of control there, but it wasn't great. But it could potentially go to a damage dealer or someone who could be offensive massively powerful and they could get their rush off quite quickly that way, that could cause a lot of issues. So I would definitely say you want to be very careful at setting Jesus off first turn and also giving him enough AP to be commanded. If you give him 50% AP, he can get commanded first turn. So that's definitely not what you want. Unless, of course, it's your Jesus on your defense team, then yes, please. So the rush is obviously powerful. It's mainly powerful on a defense team, however, as that 100% AP gain does not work on attack. But we will go over to the active skill, and this is where extra power comes in. Trauma, Impair, and AP gain. It has an initial cooldown of turn 1. This means you can do it first turn. Cooldown of 1 means it will go active, not active, active, not active, because it's a 0 cooldown means every turn. Number of uses 5. So kind of standard with the number of uses. Up to 5 enemies get 2000 trauma and impair for 2 turns. This character gains 50% AP. This is a really, really powerful active. The trauma is very effective. It means that every time someone resists, they will take 2000 damage. And every time someone gets something cleansed off them, for instance, if Jesus does get his rush off and it does those 4 things to somebody and they have this active on them, and then someone full cleanses them, like let's say you're for whatever reason you're using Marge on attack and you full cleanse, they would take 8000 damage. Huge amounts of damage for sure. This character gaining 50% AP is nuts as the last bit, but the impair is the bit that really stands out for me as being extremely powerful, because you could effectively have chain impair up until this guy rushes. That's when you're going to lose a turn. That is actually crazy. I have said in the past that impair is not like one of the most widely used control types, but now it effectively could be. This is going to be coming out on a leader that's going to be part of an event, so it's going to be in a lot of people's hands, and now suddenly impair is going to be everywhere. It's going to be really important to daze this guy for sure, because this active is brutal. Okay, so we're on that first turn, and we're just going to let him do his active this time. We're not going to daze him, and we'll see he'll gain 50% AP, but more importantly, all of my characters get impaired, and they all take 2000 trauma. Now we're going to try and get his rush to actually happen, and we might have to... How are we going to do this? I think we're going to have to pop... There we go, that worked. We're going to have to pop his rush there, and basically he should rush now, and we'll see. Let's see what happens when he rushes. If people resist, they should take 2000 damage per resist. And there's a good chance it's going to happen. He pops it, and there was 2 resists on those 2 characters for some reason. I'm not sure how that happened. Or maybe it was because of Shane's rush. But the trauma has actually gone up to 4000. I'm not sure why that's happened. No one else gives trauma here, so that could be an issue with the character. I might have to report that, because that could be a bug. But otherwise, this is extremely powerful. This is extremely powerful. You saw the damage that it can do. The trauma damage is real. And you could potentially use this on an attack team against a very particular character that has been recently released. And that would, of course, be Marge teams. Crazily enough, Marge teams. We have already got 1 debuff on these teams already. It's going to because of Guo as a leader. We're going to do the trauma of Jesus. He will take a lot of damage because he's gaining AP. He is exhausted due to Marge's leader skill. But the other ones will not. And you'll see lots of effects go on the enemy, basically. And when these get cleansed by Marge's first turn active, what you're going to see is a lot of damage get taken. 2000 damage per cleanse. It also does the damage through the Guardian Shields. It is worth knowing. I will remove 1 Guardian Shields, but you'll see other characters take damage regardless. And you're going to see her take damage, you're going to see May get taken out, and you're going to see Carl down to very, very low amounts of HP. Now, I haven't really worked on the kind of characters you could do, this with, but you can take out these really tanky Marge teams potentially by using Jesus on attack with his active skill. So that active skill then goes from pretty good to absolutely insane, because what actually happens is not only does he do the damage, he's also controlling them with impair when he does his impair. This is a really, really powerful active skill. I'd say one of the most powerful active skills in the game, 100% when it comes to coming up against characters like Marge, or who have cleansing actives or cleansing rushes. If you do use them on an attack team as well, you never have to rush. You don't ever have to do your rush. You could just constantly do the active skill and you'll be constantly impairing the enemy. The only issue you're going to have is if you are coming up against an enemy that has very powerful active skills themselves. They will active skill through this. They could have active skill cleanses, which would be beneficial to a certain extent, but you have got a chance of, you know, it falling apart. If they have an Outlast character, for instance, like Tanya, she'll obviously get taken out, but she'll be in an Outlast state unless you have controlled her, which, I mean, he might have done because he's got impair on this active. So extremely powerful active and very niche usage on an attack team as well against Marge teams. So far so good on his kit. I think we've seen his kit, we understand, pretty good. We'll go to the leader skill, and this is where a lot of people's attention will always be drawn to. Leader skill is all ranged teammates get 40% defense and 40% HP, but all teammates get camouflage for 3 turns. On a defense team, this means that Rampage will no longer work in the first 3 turns unless you get rid of that camouflage somehow. There are definitely characters that can do it, but it's going to be a lot slower than it was previously. Personally, I could beat teams like Jesus' teams probably in like 2 turns. But because it's camouflage, it's definitely going to take me a little bit longer now. So now we have Jesus as the leader, and you can see that everyone on that team has camouflage. Camouflage means that if you are not the focus of a rush, you will not take damage from anything. Specialist skill, active skill, rush, basic attack, weapon effect. I have got a Rampage weapon in Magna's hands, and I'm going to rush the trader down here. Now, normally when you hit a Rampage attack, it would hit 2 extra characters when you hit the Rampage. However, because the characters are all camouflage, you'll see a blue animation happen. Now, it is worth noting that the only character where this is not going to work on is Shane. And this means it's because when the first attack I do on Trader, he should still take 50% of it. Even though he's got camouflage, his specialist skill supersedes the fact that he's got camouflage there, and he will still take the damage. So you can see the animation goes over Frost and Pete. And then the second animation didn't happen because there wasn't a second Rampage attack. But normally, I would have hit Frost and Pete for quite a hefty amount of damage as well. But they took 0 damage. 0 damage taken. We did see Shane take a bit of damage just because of his specialist skill Bodyguard. But other than that, everybody's still up. Everybody's still up. And this is going to happen with everybody's rush that you do. So the leader skill is really, really powerful. And it was highlighted on my live stream. This would also work in Survival Roads against walkers. You could have camouflage for the first 3 turns. Extremely powerful in that situation as well, where you're just going to get a lot of freedom to attack. Very good against high level difficult walker stages, but also it's good for newer players. If you do manage to get this character, it's going to help you out a lot on those walker stages going forward. But other than that, just lots of damage reduction for a lot of characters. Anyone who hasn't got single target damage is going to have potential damage reduction on those first 3 turns. Now, when it comes to his weapon, he does not have an attached weapon at all, but he does, of course, have the weapon in the battle pass, and it fits amazingly well in his hands. This is Jesus in a team as a leader, just getting his leader buff with no mods. He has 6,500 defense and 6,500 HP. With his pistol, it gets boosted to 9,000 defense and 8,800 HP. Obviously, you'd maybe want to remove one of those stats and go with AP on attack, but he can get crazy level of stats. This, like I said, it's without mods here, so he can get much better stats. It's also not a fully upgraded weapon that he's got. He can get an extra 15% defense or 15% HP. Extremely powerful combination with the weapon from the battle pass and Jesus from the Break a Bone event. So Jesus as a character is extremely powerful. All round, his entire kit is very, very powerful. And I did say that this character was a 10 out of 10 character for me on my stream. And I did also say he's the best free-to-play character we've ever received. But I will probably say that he's the best defensive free-to-play character we've ever received. When we received Dwight at the beginning of the 6-star era and Michelle, they were extremely powerful and very much needed, basically, especially Michelle. So you can maybe say her power was just so needed, whereas Jesus is just come out of nowhere and very, very powerful character, like I say. I don't see any weaknesses in his kit, really. You know, he definitely has ways you can combat him. Exhaust is going to be a very big problem for Jesus and Jesus' team, so you've got to basically maybe gear your Jesus defense against taking exhaust damage, because if someone takes an angel against him, which is a very, very easy to get character, he is going to be in trouble, and so are potentially two of his teammates when he rushes. So yeah, there is definitely ways to combat him and his teams, but tactically you've got to approach this a little bit differently than what you have been, and this is the first time we've seen camouflage so widely used. We have seen some rushes. I think even Marge rush has camouflage to 3, but this guy here, camouflage to the entire team on the lead skill for 3 turns. Crazy. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I just couldn't believe it, especially as it's an event character. That is going to be it for my little look at Jesus as a character, showing you how his skills work. Pretty much just confirming, yes, he is good, and I think he is definitely worth going for as a focus in the Breaker Bone event. Is he worth going for in preparation for War of Champions? I think you can get him fairly reasonably in some of the bags. You can get, you know, wishbones and stuff, so if you can get lucky, he could be worth a gamble, and I think he's a bit more easier to come by than, let's say, a promo character, because you know that you're going to get him after getting buying a certain amount of stuff. Whereas when you pull for promo characters, you could potentially have to do hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pulls and not get anything still. So I think Jesus is a bit more obvious character to get your hands on. If you didn't pick up Marge, he could be the character that makes the difference for you in War of Champions. So that's my thoughts on him. I'm definitely going to focus this guy. He's definitely going to be on my roster if I can get all the stuff needed for him. We'll have to work out if that's going to be a possibility, but I think it should be okay. Do give me your thoughts on Jesus though down below, guys. I want to thank you very much for tuning into my video, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.